The hardest part of bedtime is not the crying. It is wondering why your baby seems determined to stay awake. You dim the lights, sway gently, whisper softly, and still your baby arches, protests, stares wide-eyed, and fights sleep. It can feel personal in the worst way, like your comfort is failing exactly when your baby needs it most. But the real reason babies fight sleep is rarely stubbornness. Usually, their body is signaling something parents cannot immediately see. Sometimes the struggle starts long before bedtime begins. It starts in the nervous system, hours before the first yawn appears. What looks like resistance is often overload, uncertainty, discomfort, or stress. Sleep becomes harder precisely because your baby needs it. And once you understand that, bedtime stops feeling like a battle. It starts feeling like a message waiting, decoding gently. That message may explain your baby's second wind, evening fussiness, sudden clinginess, frantic nursing, or mysterious bedtime meltdowns tonight too. Many parents assume sleep is natural, so babies should simply drift off. But sleep requires feeling safe enough internally first. A tired body alone does not create sleep. A regulated brain, predictable cues, and emotional security help sleep happen smoothly. Your baby is not asking, "Am I tired?" The question is, does my body feel calm enough to let go? That is why some babies seem exhausted but still resist. Fatigue increases vulnerability, and vulnerability can make regulation even harder. An overtired baby does not become peacefully sleepy. Often they become wired, fussy, floppy, frantic, or strangely alert instead tonight. That sudden alert look at bedtime confuses parents constantly. It seems like energy, but it can actually be stress rising. When babies stay awake past their ideal window, the body may release stress chemicals that push drowsiness farther away again. You might know those chemicals as cortisol and adrenaline. For parents, that means a baby can be tired and activated. Activated babies do not settle because someone says, "Shh." Their system is saying, "Stay alert. Something still feels unresolved here." Sometimes what feels unresolved is physical. Sometimes it is sensory. Sometimes it is emotional, and all three overlap at night. A room that seems calm to you may still feel busy. Babies notice tags, temperatures, shadows, sounds, and shifting light. They also notice your voice changing when you really want sleep. Urgency has a tone, and babies hear it immediately. That does not mean you caused the problem. It means babies are exquisitely tuned to stress inside relationships from birth. Your baby learns sleep through the body, not lectures. The body asks, "Am I safe, supported, and rhythmically understood here?" This is where attachment quietly enters the room. Bedtime is not just sleep training territory. It is relationship territory too. Attachment does not mean constant holding or never setting limits. It means your baby expects comfort to make emotional sense. At night, that expectation becomes especially important. Darkness, separation, fatigue, and changing states can make babies feel less organized inside. So your baby may fight sleep because sleep means separation. Even a small distance can feel enormous to an infant. The crib is not just a crib yet. It can feel like leaving regulation before their system knows how alone. That is why some babies drift off beautifully in arms. Then they startle awake the second they touch sheets below. The change is not only physical contact. It is a sudden shift in warmth, scent, pressure, movement, and reassurance too. For a baby, those changes are huge. The body notices them before thought, and sleep can instantly loosen again there. Some babies protest hardest right when sleep is closest. Parents think the baby is not tired, but often opposite happens. Falling asleep means surrendering control of sensations. For sensitive babies, that transition can feel riskier than staying awake for now. This is especially true during developmental leaps. New skills make babies excited, disorganized, and more aware of being separate suddenly. A baby practicing rolling, pulling up, babbling, or crawling is not just busy by day, their brain stays busy too. That means nighttime resistance can appear exactly when development is blooming. Progress often looks messy before it looks impressive outside. You may also notice bedtime gets harder after a stimulating day. More errands, visitors, screens, noise, or transitions accumulate quietly. Babies do not simply get tired from stimulation. They can get flooded, which makes settling feel harder, not easier later. Parents sometimes think more activity guarantees better sleep. But for many babies, enough calm before bed matters more than busyness. That calm is not silence alone. It is a predictable lowering of emotional and sensory demands across the evening hours. When evenings stay bright, loud, rushed, or inconsistent, your baby may arrive at bedtime still bracing for more input ahead. And babies cannot explain that feeling. They just squirm, cry, nurse endlessly, demand arms, then resist actually falling asleep afterward. This is why bedtime can feel so confusing. The same baby begging for comfort may resist the comfort working fully. They want help, but their system cannot use help smoothly. That tension creates the classic bedtime spiral parents recognize instantly. First comes fussiness, then more soothing, then more protest. Everyone is trying harder, yet the room feels worse somehow tonight. The answer is usually not bigger effort. It is better matching between what your baby needs and what you offer. Sometimes your baby needs less eye contact, sometimes less talking, sometimes slow rocking, fewer transfers, or a shorter window instead. Sometimes they need more connection before bed, not less. A baby who felt disconnected all evening may seek reconnection desperately. That can look like clinginess or multiple false starts. Really, your baby may be checking whether closeness will remain available. Babies do not separate sleep from relationship the way adults do. Sleep happens inside relationship long before independence develops fully. That is why bedtime routines are emotionally powerful. They are not cute rituals. They are repeated promises your baby feels. Bath, pajamas, feeding, song, dim light, cuddle. Together they say, the night is familiar and you won't face this alone. Predictability lowers stress because the brain loves patterns. Patterns help babies anticipate safety before they fully understand language at all. A chaotic routine makes every step emotionally expensive. A familiar routine lets your baby spend less energy decoding bedtime signals. That does not mean routines must be perfect. It means consistent anchors matter more than elaborate bedtime performances ever do. One song sung nightly can carry more regulation than 3 new tricks. Familiarity itself becomes soothing for the infant brain. Now consider another hidden reason babies fight sleep. They are trying to finish dates before letting go at night. Maybe your baby was hungry but distracted earlier. Maybe they needed burping, closeness, stillness, or a slower transition before sleep. Night often reveals what daytime rushed past. The body keeps asking for completion till it feels heard and settled enough. That is why some babies cluster feed in the evening. Food is not always the only need being filled there. Sucking can regulate breathing, tension, and emotional arousal. Feeding may also be your baby's fastest path back home inside tonight. That does not mean every cry means hunger. It means bedtime cues can be layered and babies speak holistically often. Parents look for one reason because one reason feels manageable. Babies, however, can be tired, hungry, overstimulated, and lonely simultaneously. That complexity is not your failure. It is infant life, tiny people having full-body experiences without words or perspective. When you stop chasing a single explanation, patterns emerge. You begin noticing clusters instead of isolated bedtime moments every night. On bath nights, your baby fights sleep harder. After visitors, they nurse longer. After skipped naps, they unravel much faster. Those patterns are gold because they turn mystery into meaning. Meaning gives parents steadiness, and steadiness helps babies settle better. Another overlooked piece is daytime connection. Babies who spend all day coping may finally seek emotional processing once night arrives. A baby can hold it together through errands and commotion. Bedtime is when the leftover feelings finally spill out openly. That evening, crying after a busy day is not random. It can be decompression in the only way available yet. Your baby may not need fixing first. They may need your body to say, I can hold this with you. That is why calming sometimes works faster than solving. Regulation often must come before improvement in any bedtime problem does. When your baby feels your steady breathing and slower movements, their nervous system receives information words could never deliver alone. That information sounds like safety, not perfect safety, not magic safety, just enough safety for sleep to finally begin there. This helps explain why one parent may settle the baby faster. Different bodies, voices, scents, and rhythms feel different tonight. It does not mean one parent is better. It may simply mean one nervous system matches this moment better, right? That is useful, not insulting. Parents can learn from the difference instead of turning bedtime into a verdict about themselves. Maybe one parent talks less. Maybe one lingers longer before transferring. Maybe one notices sleepy cues earlier in evenings consistently. Sleepy cues themselves are often misunderstood. Yawning is obvious, but babies also signal sleep through staring, zoning out, rubbing eyes. They may tug ears, lose interest in play, get clumsy, or suddenly become extra silly and bright-eyed instead tonight. That bright-eyed second wind fools parents constantly. It looks like recovery, but often it is fatigue wearing armor now. Once babies cross that line, soothing takes more time. Not because you are doing badly, but biology changed states already. This is why bedtime success often begins with earlier timing. 15 minutes can matter more than most parents expect sometimes. But timing alone will not solve every struggle. A perfectly timed bedtime still fails when the system feels too activated. So watch the whole runway, not just lights out. Evening regulation begins with how the afternoon and dinner unfold together. Too much stimulation before bed can crowd out drowsiness. Too little connection can make separation feel sharper too at night. That balance surprises parents because babies need both softness and structure. They need winding down and feeling emotionally gathered together. Emotionally gathered means the day has an ending. The body senses nothing more is being asked of me right now. That is why rushed bedtime backfires so often. Hurrying communicates demand, while rhythm communicates containment and safety instead to babies. If your baby fights sleep every night, start by asking when. The time pattern often reveals the deeper story first. Right after nursing may point toward gas, reflux, or transfer timing. 40 minutes later may point toward lighter sleep cycles. 2 hours after bedtime can suggest overtiredness or incomplete settling. Frequent early waking often starts before sleep actually begins well. In other words, night problems sometimes begin at bedtime. The first falling asleep process shapes what follows afterward overnight too. If bedtime happens through high distress, the body remembers that path. Then partial waking can retrace it again overnight easily. This is not a reason to blame yourself. It is a reason to make the first landing gentler for everyone. Get there does not always mean longer. Sometimes it means fewer attempts, less stimulation, and a clearer sequence each night overall. You may also be seeing temperament at bedtime. Some babies need more wind down because their systems feel everything deeply. These babies are not dramatic. They are perceptive, intense, and easily saturated by change, novelty, noise, or emotion around them. Other babies seem sturdier until suddenly they are not. They cope quietly, then crash hard at bedtime unexpectedly later on. Neither pattern is wrong. Both require parents to notice thresholds before the baby's behavior becomes impossible to ignore at bedtime. That is real responsiveness. Not reacting only to crying, but reading smaller signs before distress steals the whole evening away. Smaller signs may include jerky movements, glazed eyes, sudden clinginess, frantic smiling, faster sucking, or a stiff little body posture. The stiff body at bedtime is easy to miss. Parents read resistance while the baby may be bracing internally already. Bracing can come from reflux, gas, sensory defensiveness, or plain fatigue. Different causes, same message. Settling feels difficult right now. That is why bedtime advice sometimes sounds contradictory. Different babies are fighting sleep for different reasons underneath similar behavior patterns. One baby needs earlier sleep. Another needs more burping. Another needs more connection. Another needs less stimulation before bed tonight. The common thread is not a trick. It is learning what your particular baby is trying to protect during sleep. Maybe they are protecting themselves from overwhelm, maybe from separation, maybe from discomfort, maybe from dropping too fast at night. Once you know the hidden fear, bedtime gets clearer. You stop treating every protest like the same protest every time. And that shift changes your baby too. Babies respond differently when parents act from understanding instead of desperation at bedtime. Desperation speeds everything up. Understanding slows things down just enough for your baby to feel met, not managed there tonight. That difference can be felt in your hands, in your pace, in the way you wait after a cry comes. It can be felt in whether you add more stimulation immediately, or whether you first notice what increased it already. Bedtime often improves when parents do less, but mean more, less performing, more noticing, less fixing, more anchoring for babies. Anchoring means becoming the steady point in a changing state. Your baby feels the storm but also feels shore nearby. This does not erase hard nights. Teeth happen, growth spurts happen, colds happen, travel happens, and sleep wobbles sometimes anyway. But even on hard nights, meaning helps. You can respond with compassion instead of spiraling into self-doubt instantly again. Self-doubt is heavy at night because everyone is tired. Exhaustion makes normal baby behavior feel like personal failure fast. So let this land clearly. Your baby is not giving you a bedtime performance review. They are communicating capacity instead. Capacity for stimulation, separation, digestion, transition, and stress. Capacity shifts nightly, which is why yesterday's perfect routine sometimes fails today. That does not mean you're back at zero. It means babies are living systems, not bedtime equations to solve. And living systems respond best to patterns, not panic. Calm repetition teaches more than heroic effort ever can at night. If you want a practical beginning, start earlier than you think. Protect the hour before bed like fragile glass daily. Lower lights, lower volume, lower your own pace. Let the house send one clear message: the day is closing now. Then watch your baby more than the clock. The clock gives averages. Your baby gives live, specific information every night. If they look glazed, start sooner. If they re-engage brightly, maybe finish one step and move gently onward towards sleep. If they fight the transfer, pause there. More rocking is not always the answer. Slower transition often is instead tonight. If they cry after going down, notice the flavor. Sharp protest, panic searching, grunty discomfort, and angry fatigue differ emotionally. Different cries ask for different help. Listening this way keeps you responsive without becoming frantically reactive to every sound overnight. And if none of this creates instant transformation, that is okay. Better understanding still changes the emotional climate tonight greatly. A calmer climate is not a small win. It is the beginning of safer sleep for your baby and you. Because babies learn nights by living them with you. Night after night, your responses become expectations inside their body quietly. Eventually, your baby does not just remember routines. They remember the feeling of being guided through hard transitions by you. That memory becomes trust. Trust becomes relaxation. Relaxation makes sleep more reachable, even when the day was messy and loud. So the real reason your baby fights sleep at night is bigger than sleep. It is regulation meeting relationship there. Your baby is not trying to be bedtime. Your baby is showing you where support is still needed most tonight. Sometimes that support is quieter evenings. Sometimes it is earlier sleep. Sometimes it is more closeness before separation at night. Sometimes it is simply a parent finally seeing the pattern, and seeing the pattern changes the whole response from within. When response changes, babies often change too, not because they were manipulated, but because they finally feel understood at bedtime. That is the quiet power here. Understanding does not remove love's work. It makes love more accurately delivered to babies. And accurate love feels different in the body. It feels slower, clearer, safer, and easier to surrender inside for sleep. So tonight, if your baby fights sleep again, pause before assuming defiance. Look for the hidden question underneath that protest. Is the body overloaded? Is the heart checking connection? Is the timing off? Is something unfinished still buzzing inside tonight? You may not answer perfectly every time, but your willingness to wonder already makes bedtime gentler than panic ever could. And your baby feels that difference, even before words. They feel it in touch, pace, breath, and waiting with you. This is how hard nights become meaningful nights. Not easy, not perfect, but full of signals you can read better. And when you can read them, you suffer less. The mystery softens and your confidence grows beside your baby quietly. That confidence is not loud or expert sounding. It is calm, flexible, and rooted in knowing your child deeply now. So if bedtime has been breaking your heart lately, let this comfort you. Your baby is not resisting you personally. Your baby is revealing what sleep requires tonight. With patience and pattern recognition, that message becomes much easier to hear. And once you hear it, bedtime can feel less like a fight and more like your baby asking home again.